How you doing, man?
Oh, I am partying. How about you?
I've just been hanging out in the chat room with all these people, listening to your badass shit.
That sounds like a party in its own right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Man, well, I'm glad to be here nonetheless. Hello, everybody.
Well, it's good to have you here, man.
Right.
What plans do you have for 2018?
Oh, man. Well, to level with you, I've been flirting with the idea of re-entering the music game in regards to Underlined, because for the past couple years we haven't been consistently releasing things on Halloween, which is kind of the gimmick. You know, I kind of grew up with the whole Michael Myers thing, so it was like the only way I could tie it into my music, so yeah. But anywho, I was thinking about, probably gonna do a music video or an EP or something for Halloween, because it has been a hot second for that. But beyond that, there's Kuza, whom is recording what is it? It was a full length, now it's an EP, for the sake of just giving everyone more bang for their buck and just getting something done. Because if you also look at Kuza's trajectory, it's been a hot second since they've put something out.
Yeah.
But now that I'm in the project, I can pretty much light a fire under Michael's ass and get shit done, which is a good thing. So, there's Kuza, there's that, and what else? What the hell else am I doing? I'm hurting people for a living with wrestling. That's fun. Yeah, man, I'm pretty much trying to maintain the position of being a jack of all trades and a master of none until I am.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I would have to say 2018 so far has just been all about, alright, what do I do on Halloween for Underlined, and religiously working on this Kuza EP, because I've been doing, next to everything production-wise on it, so that's been a heavy undertaking. That's been the bulk of it for at least this year. As far as I have planned, who knows though? Fun things like to pop up.
What can you tell us about that upcoming Kuza EP?
I can tell you that I wrote, I believe, 2 or 3 songs on it. The other 2 were relatively flushed out tunes that sound very much like what people expect from Kuza. The stuff I'm introducing, anybody that has any experience with, or any listening experience, I should say, with my prior work, knows a relative signature sound that I attempt to inject into whatever I do. And with this Kuza EP, it should be no different. Not just because of the fact that I've written X amount of songs for it, but because I am, as I said before, I'm single-handedly mixing, mastering, doing the drum production. I did all the bass, because I am officially the bass player, but in this case, like, I started off as a guitarist, went to another guitarist position, now I'm the bassist, now I'm who the hell knows. I'm pretty much just here to do what has to be done. But in regards to the EP, it's supposed to, in essence, close the door on what was sonically, and what people knew Kuza to be, that very gothy kind of pseudo motionless and white against the grain kind of sound. And it's supposed to close the door on that in a sense, and then open us to a opportunity, hopefully, where we could then get much more aggressive. I know Michael is obsessed with this genre called slamcore. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I'm not. I live under a rock musically. It's as if I came out of a time capsule from 2001. It's kind of obnoxious, but he's obsessed with like deathcore and really aggressive stuff, which I'm familiar with writing, so I know that's where he wants to go in regards to the full length. But in regards to the EP, we got to give y'all a bit of that and a bit of what you're used to, and yet make it all, happy and at least somewhat what am I trying to say here? At least we want to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest hurdle, is it seems we're just trying to overcome various hurdles, which fortunately I think we have, and all we're doing now is waiting on Michael to record vocals. I hope Michael is listening to this, because if he isn't, I'm going to send this to him. Mike, I'm calling you out on the mother... Oh, wait a second, can I curse?
Yeah, this is a very R-rated show.
Okay, groovy. I'm calling you out on the motherfucking radio, cocksucker. You have 4 tracks left to record vocals for, and now everyone knows it. Everyone can feel it, and it's now on you. Sorry. Anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are with that. I'm just waiting to get vocal tracks so I can finish the mix and master. I just got the go-ahead that I'm going to get to do backup vocals on this shit too, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's badass.
That's pretty much where we are with that. Yeah.
So, the last album you released as Underlined was Altruism, and I was very curious about the overall meaning of that album.
Oh, man. Well, okay. In essence, around 2013, I essentially tried to reboot Underlined by closing the door on all the stuff that was Dead Time Stories and before that, and to open the door for something new, much more free-flowing and electronic and whatnot. But I also wanted my lyrics to come across more as an honest expression of self, more than me just being pissed off about the wrongdoings people have done onto me, like some selfish little dickhead. I just wanted to kind of do more, I guess. And I guess the older I got, the easier it became. And when we did that, when we sort of closed the door on all the past and adolescence of Underline, because I did start this band when I was 16, so it was a big bit of adolescence from Truth and Denial until Dead Time Stories. That's like teenage age 7 on way too many drugs. We needed to calm the fuck down and refused to. And then around 2013, we rebooted the nonsense, put out an EP called And Then that featured 3 songs from Dead Time Stories and 3 songs that, trust me, all this background has a reason. All this has meaning. I swear I'm not just dragging you along for no reason. Yeah. In essence, that EP was to do for Underlined what the Kuza EP is to do for Kuza. Close the door on what once was, open the door for what is to be. And with that EP, that led the door to Altruism to be open. And what Altruism essentially was, musically, it's the collaborative effort between myself and John E. Stevens of Ghost Machine. If anybody does not know who Ghost Machine is, I'm sure you know who Motograder is, I'm sure you know who Five Finger Death Punch is, I'm sure you know who Ivan Moody is. One of his side projects after he left Motograder was a band called Ghost Machine, and I just completely was obsessed with it. So I tracked down the guy who wrote all that stuff, and in essence, he had all these songs backed up that were supposed to be for a Ghost Machine record that he handed off to me, and myself, my guitarist, and a couple different people. Crispy, I believe the former drummer of Motograder, is all over that thing, and I didn't find that out until the record was done. But it was essentially a collaborative effort musically, and then once it was done, after about 5 years of work, because it took some of those songs are apparently a decade old, to my knowledge, and I didn't know that. Damn. Like John's ones. So by the time we got them, and the whole sequence was put together, and I felt like there was a sort of cinematic narrative to the music, I then, freakishly enough, in my personal life, got completely blindsided by a lung cancer diagnosis, and this I was essentially told I had stage 4 lung cancer when I didn't. I was given a misdiagnosis and went for multiple follow-ups and second opinions and third opinions and fourth opinions to realize that what I had was much more manageable, and it's been dealt with and everything's groovy, yay. But at that time, I was very, very certain I was on my way out. That I needed to write a sort of swan song that would literally end the story of Underlined. That was the point anyway, and the lyrics ended up being about 2 things. All that I just told you, the whole background and all the of being screwed over by a record label and then somehow resurrecting and then somehow still, like, being alive while being very dead at the same time.
Damn.
And then lyrically, on the other side of that, the other 50% would be personal life nonsense involving, isn't it always about a woman? Isn't it, guys? Aren't all of our favorite songs about women or the shit they do? Sorry. Anyway, yeah, it was essentially a woman. It was the muse, you know? And I was coming to terms with a whole lot of nonsense that, like, it felt like I was being cheated in life, and I felt really, 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 really over existence in general. So I wrote this sort of swan song, if you will, towards everything in regards to Underlined, our past, our record label bullshit, my past with the people who listen to these songs and can blatantly tell when one is about them. I wanted to kind of tie all that shit in, and that is what ultimately altruism is. I apologize for the long-winded answer, but that record was essentially, in my mind, the first finished, because it was the first ever completed full-length Underlined record. Truth and Denial was a collection of demos. Dead Time Stories was released in a premature fashion by a record label with a vendetta against our manager. And EPs don't really count, so And Then can't count as a finished product, but it was. So Altruism was essentially, in my mind, the first Underlined record for what was supposed to be the quote-unquote last Underlined record. But I'm alive, so that didn't really work out. So I gotta figure out how to return to that, because I don't know if you noticed, or if anybody noticed, because I did not put any publicity into this. But I believe earlier last year, I released a record under the name of H7.
Yeah, it was Virtuoso, right?
Yeah, that's it. And essentially, that's no different from Underlined sonically. The only difference was, and even lyrically, that picks up right where Altruism left off. So it's kind of weird, but I guess there was a continuation while not being a continuation. I guess I felt like if I let Underlined lie in its frozen grave, as I, worked all these years to fucking put together the swan song, maybe I should let it quote-unquote rest in peace for a hot second while I do Kuza, H7, wrestling stuff. But every time Halloween gets closer and closer, I get this itch, this fucking itch to be like, oh yeah, it's my time. I gotta do something. I gotta let people know I'm still around. So it's weird, but I guess you could say that there was a continuation. But yeah, man, that's the whole thing on Altruism. Anyway.
That's fucking badass.
Thank you. It was nonsense. It was a complete and utter. I mean, I guess that's, what is that saying? That, like, artists usually write their best shit when they're at their lowest or whatever. In the case of Underlined, that seems to be, completely true. Everything that was written under complete duress ended up being what people loved the most, and everything that I've, sat and slaved over, or anything I try to overthink, usually falls flat and doesn't get put out there. So it's just funny how all that works. But yeah, life.
What is your music recording process like, and how long does it take you to record an album?
Well, it depends on the tune, because what I do is I will record and record and record and record, usually for 11 months, to compile just however many songs. It could be 11, it could be 20, it could be 30, it could be 50, it could be 100. Who knows? Every year is different. But because I've afforded myself the luxury of pretty much forcing myself to make Underlined my main job for the first couple years of this, fortunately now wrestling and other stuff and masks, special effects, all that stuff helps me foot the bills. But Underlined was for a long time by necessity my job. So I was able to, in essence, sort of really, really tailor the perfect recording process, the amount of gear that I would need to make this sound exactly how I needed it to sound while not compromising anything at the same time. Every dollar that Underlined ever made got put back into Underlined, because as anybody that looks at it can tell, it's aesthetically that isn't sending us into the red sonically. It's got to be. And that's the absolute truth. It does. It costs a whole lot of money to look and sound this trashy. But in essence, it could be anywhere from, I could be working on a song a week, and then I'd be like, all right, that's it, that's done, that's it. And whatever it gets put on, it gets put on. Or I can sit and slave over the batch of records, fuck's wrong with me, the batch of songs in the proper sequence, of the album, because I try to think very much so in the sense of, like a movie score. Like, I want my records to flow. I want every song to flow into the next one.
Yeah.
So it's an obnoxious process that could lead to me waiting up until, I don't know, it's rough. Our cutoff is usually about 30 days before the release, where I can't touch it. Like, once we're 30 days out, that's when I gotta send it out to tell the distributors to get it out there. That's when I gotta, there's just a certain cutoff to ensure that your product can be released on the specific date that you want it to be.
Yeah.
So I try to have like a cutoff where it's like 10, 11 months within the confines of whatever record I'm working on. Like right now I've been slaving over the concept of an EP because I have 5 originals and I have 5 covers, but I don't know if I want to release 2 EPs or I'm probably just going to release the originals and hold on to the covers and put them on SoundCloud for free because legalities, and I just don't want to go through those hula hoops. But you never really know when it comes to how long it takes to record a song. As far as how I do it, it's pretty straightforward. Thanks to technology, I am able to pretty much demo out everything in my home studio, and then when it comes to drums, I have a couple guys that I can send my stuff out to be like, hey, does this sound like what an actual drummer would play? And if not, could you, do what an actual drummer would do? and 9 times out of 10, I'll get a yes. So that works out. But a lot of Underlined stuff is a collaborative effort, even though it's the visual face of everything is, I guess, my own. But that's almost been out of necessity also. Like, I wanted this to be a band from day one. I couldn't find, 5 other like-minded weirdos that were willing to blow their entire lives on never making a dime, but looking cool and sounding cool. That's a hard proposition. Especially, immediately since I started this band right when the industry pretty much died in 2006. The metaphysical death knell when sales, dropped 60-something%.
Oh, damn.
That was right when this shit started, so it was like, oh, okay, we're all fucked. But it kept going, and it ended up being this sort of underground thing that, fortunately, people responded to, and thanks to MySpace, believe it or not, we were able to sell, I believe it was 5,000 self-pressed physical units of a demo, Truth and Denial. And because of that, that money got poured right back into gear. And over the years, the gear has just been upgraded and all that shit. Every record I do, the money from it goes right back into the project, or, general H7 goings-ons in regards to media and music and whatnot. But it's usually a strenuous process nonetheless, but it's a necessity. It seems to be the only way which I can work properly, is if I want to release something annually, that's the way to do it. Otherwise, I'll drive myself crazy not doing anything for 10 months and then completely go up the wall for 1 month in order to just release something, and then I run the risk of it being compromised or just not good. That's no fun for anybody. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you have, that you did some EPs. I'm getting my shit mixed up today. Sorry about that.
Haha, it's okay. We all are.
You mentioned earlier that you had some covers that you did.
Yeah, on, what is it, SoundCloud.com/Underlined Inc., I think that's it. There, or if you just Google the shit, you'll find a SoundCloud page that has multiple covers that weren't on any other release, because I got in the habit of I really like doing covers. But unfortunately, when a band releases an album of covers, it kind of feels like a signal for the end. Or it feels like, oh, what are they out of ideas? Fucking lazy pricks. And so I didn't want it to seem like that. So I slowly put out these covers on SoundCloud or YouTube. There's a Nine Inch Nails cover on YouTube, or that's actually on SoundCloud also. That's on Virtuoso also. Never mind. What the fuck am I saying? I mean, I guess I do put the occasional cover. I try to put at least one cover on each record. There was the Willie Nelson one on Altruism. There was Ramallah on Dead Time Stories. And on Virtuosa, I guess it was Nine Inch Nails. And if you count Ricketts as a band, I guess Anything for the Devil was a cover also. But yeah, but the bulk of my mainstream covers I try to put out on SoundCloud. And in regards to the yeah, I've gotten in the habit since the so-called rebooting of Underlined went down in 2013 that it makes sense to release an EP a full length, an EP a full length, an EP a full length, so on and so forth. So I can have like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, so on and so on.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was after Altruism, well, there was And Then, which was before Altruism. Then Altruism happened, and then I just said, fuck this, I'm releasing a full length at age 7. But my next move as Underlined is more than likely going to be in the same spirit as And Then. But in all fairness, And Then was done with a really heavy cross on it, fucking Back to Bear, where it's like, this has to be the reboot, this is everything that closes the door, and what was and what will be. You know, it had all this unnecessary importance upon it. Now, I have essentially no pressure.
Yeah.
So, I guess, you know, I guess the only pressure is ensuring that I don't stop. So, but if I take my time on things, 9 times out of 10 it goes well, or it seems to. But, yeah, there wasn't peace than there once was. Odds are the next Underline will be second, probably. That or a music video. It really depends. But, yeah.
Cool, man. I actually didn't know you did a cover of Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah, I think it's the last song on Virtuosa. I think it's right where it belongs. That one.
Fucking badass, dude.
Fun stuff.
Out of the covers you've done so far, which one's probably your favorite?
Oh, I know. Usually it's really, really hard for me to answer questions about, like, what's your favorite, this or that, but I actually have an answer for this one. Go figure. It's my cover of Ghost Machine, their song Headstone. I think that shit's on YouTube. I know it's everywhere else, but it was a special edition, it was a physical edition only song found on the physical units of And Then. And for whatever reason, I didn't release it digitally. Even though I believe on our Bandcamp it's there, as well as on YouTube, and I believe it's on SoundCloud. Anybody that wants to hear it can find it. But I think that would have to be it. That one or the Willie Nelson one off Altruism. Just because of how weird that was.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, even I listen to that and I'm like, what the fuck? Alright, man. But yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. What inspired you to start making masks?
Ooh. Ever since I have, like, conscious memories, like, ever since I was a little kid, I was born in New Orleans, essentially grew up there, so I was always around hyper-theatricality, Mardi Gras culture, voodoo nonsense, you know, the tourist trap voodoo, that kind of stuff, that aesthetic. Yeah. It was essentially everywhere. And when I was a kid, I gravitated towards shit like Mortal Kombat, Michael Myers, Halloween, horror movies in general, really, really over-the-top music acts like Kiss. Believe it or not, everybody gets so weirded out when I say this. But one of my first big concerts was Kiss on the quote-unquote farewell tour at the Superdome in New Orleans, and something about that fused with the aesthetics from intellectual properties like Mortal Kombat, and then I felt like ever since I have conscious memories, I've also been watching wrestling. I don't know why, it's just always been on. So I have these really, really distinct visual memories of seeing characters like The Undertaker, Kane, Sting, Mankind, Abyss, all of these people who were very, very over the top in their own theatricality. And I've always thought that, okay, it wasn't until like 98 when bands like Slipknot and Mushroom Head were kind of like, hey, it's okay to be a complete fucking weirdo and visually represent how this music makes you feel.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that whole idea right there kind of stuck with me. And yet when you mishmash that sort of that positive reinforcement, that accidental positive reinforcement with the background I had with all that New Orleans nonsense, Mardi Gras culture, Halloween, old school, well, I guess you could call it Attitude Era, WWF-y stuff, horror movies and all that jazz, ever since I was able to get my hands on, like, art stuff, I was trying to make nonsense, not good stuff, certainly, but it's always sort of been there. And when I started Underlined, I immediately knew I wanted to have a project that would be a double-edged sword, so to speak, a visual showcase as well as an auditory showcase, and the two would not be able to be separated from one another, whereas you could not have the visuals without the music, and you could not see those, you could not see those visuals without assigning it to the music, or you could not hear the music without recalling those visuals, because of how much so they're supposed to reflect what you're hearing. That was a very intentional thing that I had wanted to do ever since I was a kid, and my first experience in the music industry was as a ghostwriter for this band who shan't be named, but they essentially gave me such a raw end of the stick, so to speak, when all that ended, that I just decided in 2006, it was around Halloween 2006, go figure, that that's actually when the band was, I guess, formed. It was me and the guitar player. I was like, all right, this is happening. And go figure it was on Halloween, but it was very intentional from the beginning to make something that had a over-the-top look, but the look had to be natural. It had to be a blend of all of those weird influences I just mentioned, and then some. And in essence, that's pretty much where all this came from.
Fucking awesome, dude. How long did it take you to get good at making masks?
Honestly, I started taking it very, very seriously once Underline was starting to be taken very, very seriously. Right after Truth and Denial happened in 2009? Yeah. So around 2009 to 2010, I got really, I guess as you could call it, balls deep into the process, learning every bit of sculpting, casting, mold making, all of it. And over the years, I would have to say, it's probably been about about 7 to 8 years. I would just under a decade to get where I'm at now. And even where I'm at now, I feel like I'm seeing other guys and the things that they can do. Like I wish I could recall like even half of these motherfuckers so I can plug them, but I can't. And I see these people that are now utilizing 3D printing and all this other crazy shit, and
yeah.
It's blowing my mind because everything I do is by hand, and it's like I spent 10 years to get that good, and now there's a printer that can just do it. Oh my god. So I want to learn a lot about that. I most certainly want to move on to like full-scale production stuff. I'm dying to to get a job in some sort of special effects field where I can just do this religiously.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I do, it pays the bills, but I work on a commission basis, essentially, where, like, wrestlers, musicians, performers, or fans will hit me up, and usually for, like, $150, I can make next to anything face mask-wise. And the only reason why I can do that is because I've gotten as good as I have over the past just under a decade. But even then, I feel like there's much more ground to cover.
Yeah. What is your favorite mask design that you made?
Ooh, I can't stop wearing this goddamn altruism mask. The one that's on everything. I think it's everywhere. I mean, it just looks like the H7 face at this point. The one that's always lit up. It's ridiculous looking because it's the perfect amalgamation, if that's the right word. I'm just going to say amalgam of Deathstroke, Kane, Sub-Zero, Noob Saibot, and Bane. It's perfect. It's just the pleating, all of it was perfect. And I don't know, man. With the one we did after that, which I've affectionately titled H7 is Dead, it looks like a Kane mask blended with Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, and you would think that would be perfect, but something about it just, I don't know, man. It rubbed me kind of not the wrong way, but not the way that the altruism mask did. And my old school mask was my first one that I wore that looks kind of like a zombie or a face, and it's all jacked up looking. A lot of people try and call it a Corey Taylor mask, aka Rick from Mushroomhead. Anyway, but what I would have to say is probably my favorite one is definitely the altruism mask, because it fits me perfectly. It fits the vibe perfectly. My only problem with it is when I wrestle in it, I can't fucking breathe because there are no mouth holes. It's like, it's flat. It just goes right over my mouth, and unless I expose the mouth, which makes me look like Batman, I'm stuck. So I just have cane problems where I'm sitting there in the middle of a 15-minute match sounding exactly like this. Yeah, fuck.
That's fucking hilarious, dude. Speaking of your altruism mask, I was on Etsy one day looking at fucking masks and shit, and I shit you not, it looked like somebody was copying your fucking mask design and trying to sell it.
Dude, that happens, but in this case, with the altruism mask, that sculpt was a collaborative effort. That
really?
Was done with a guy, I believe the dude that you found is the guy, because we have found people who will buy, like, the resin, the hard shell resin ones, and they'll make their own mold. They'll make essentially a bootleg mold.
Yeah.
Off of their own cast, which is pretty fucked up, but I've seen that happen a few times, but I am willing to bet my soul that what you saw on Etsy, because of how, like, thorough I am about that, like, I've got spies everywhere, fortunately, on the internet, and whenever they see somebody even just reselling a mask that I sold them, for some reason I get sent messages like, hey, are you cool with this? Like, Jesus, fuck, there's an aftermarket, chill, I know. But in that case, on Etsy and on eBay, anything that you see that is that sculpt, or the old school sculpt, or the H7 is Dead sculpt, those three underlined masks, any of those that you see on Etsy or eBay are legitimate.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because when I first saw it, I thought somebody was completely ripping your shit off.
Oh, it's happened. It has happened. Holy fuck has it happened. But no, and fortunately over the past 5 years, as Facebook became a thing and like MySpace sort of died off, the ability to be more thorough in the marketplace, it has really, really lent itself to me being able to kind of squash out bootleggers and whatnot. Apparently Mushroomhead has a huge problem with people bootlegging their masks, so much so that they will sue you.
Oh, wow.
Like they will slap you with a cease and desist. And I totally get it. At first I was like, oh, that's shitty. Just let the art community be the art community. Why you gotta be dicks? Then immediately when it happened to me, I was like, oh, whoa, okay, this sucks, because then that's like $200. I'm out every single sale because this jack-off wanted to make bootleg copies.
Yeah.
You know? I totally get it now. But, man, it's shady. It's almost like like torrenting. There's always going to be somebody that's going to take your record and put that shit on Pirate Bay or whatever is the hot thing this week.
Yeah.
I just lose my car keys. Oh, no, I did not. Anyway.
While we're still on the subject of your masks, for any listeners that might actually want to possibly go into the art of making their own masks, what are the basic steps that you go through to make a mask?
In essence, you have to start with, if I say in essence one more time, I'm going to throw myself through a plate glass window. Anyway, you start off with a concept, a sketch, a design, an idea, even if it's just in your head. What you have to get good at if you want to make this shit yourself is sculpting. You're going to want to go to a website called Monster Makers, or The Monster Makers. I don't know. If you Google it, you'll find them. They're the number one source for this shit, for special effects, materials, and even mask kits for people starting out. I wish I had that shit when I was doing this stuff in the way back when. But now, for like a couple $100, you can get multiple pounds of clay, a full-headed amateur to sculpt on, a fake head, in essence. The materials to make a mold, and the materials to cast that mold. So it's pretty crazy, but if you go to monstermakers.com, I believe, they have a plethora of resources, but the first step is sculpting. You're going to want to get really, really, really good at sculpting. You're going to want to sculpt little things that you don't want to sculpt. Just sculpt shapes so you can get good at it. And that's what I did. I started sculpting little miniatures, like figures and dumb shit for like merch, and eventually they stopped looking terrible. And then I was able to apply that to masks, and it was seamless, because sculpting is just sculpting in general. There's no difference between if you're sculpting a mask or a 4-inch figure, because the amount of detail is completely up to you. It's all about the amount of time you want to put in on the project.
Yeah.
But it's sculpting. It's learning how to make a proper mold, because people like to fuck off around that part because it's not fun and it's one of the most time-consuming parts of the process, mold making. I hate it. I actually passionately hate it. But once you're done with that, you have a nice fucking, assuming you want to make something out of latex, you would want to make a plaster mold. If you want to make something that's hard, like resin, like a resin mask, you would want to make that mold out of tin-based silicone, maybe, so it's flexible. And then you do your research on your casting materials. You cast. It's going to be trial and error. You're going to learn about things called flush casting and all that fun shit that, believe it or not, on YouTube, thanks to Tom Savini and multiple motherfuckers, by the way, Tom Savini is one of the most beneficial minds I've ever encountered in the special effects field. The amount of things I've learned from that man in just elbow rubbing like conversations with him is astronomical. It's crazy. The dude is top of the game. But it's a long, strenuous process that requires a great deal of steps. But should anyone out there choose to dive down that rabbit hole, fortunately, there is no shortage of reading materials, of YouTube videos. There are so many. You can learn so many different methods. I still will go to just various YouTube videos if I'm hazy on a certain process or anything like that in regards to mold making or casting, because, as I said, mold making isn't my most favorite thing. Mm-hmm. So I kind of put a lot of those details out of my mind. But when I have to do it, thanks to the internet, there's no shortage of information. So I would have to advise anybody that's looking to start, I would really have to plug Monster Makers, because they do have these kits as I said, that are everything you need in one. They have different sized kits. They have starter kits that are much more affordable. They have all the way up to $1,000 if you want to blow that. It's all up to you. If you want to start a fucking special effects company, you can do so with a kit that is properly sized, or if you just want to make a mask to do it, to get good at it, then they have that kit for you as well. So I would have to lean that way.
Sweet, dude. Now, this next question is just gonna... It doesn't really have anything to do with your work or anything. It's more like, I've been a big fan of Mortal Kombat, and I saw the inspiration from your masks, and
oh yes,
usually when I get to talking about somebody with Mortal Kombat, since most people I know have played like Armageddon and the ones that just have a shitload of characters.
Oh yeah,
I usually ask people like, what are their favorite and least favorite Mortal Kombat characters?
Oh, okay. Oh man. Alright, well I have to go with Noob Saibot as my favorite, because he's the original Sub-Zero. If anybody doesn't know that, get from under your rock. In fact, I have the motherfucker tattooed on my hand. His Mortal Kombat 9 book. So I would have to go with him, because I grew up with Sub-Zero, like, being the motherfucker. For me, it was Sub-Zero, it was Noob Saibot, and in regards to favorites, I love Cabal for some weird reason. And it pissed me off so much when I was a little kid and I went to go see Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I knew Cabal and Stryker weren't going to be in the movie, and that they got cut out and were reduced to, we've accumulated two of Earth's most mightiest warriors, Cabal and Stryker, and that's it. That's it. That's fucking it. That's all they said. But I have to go with Cabal, Sub-Zero, Noob Saibot. Oh man, let me think here. In regards to the robots, I really, really do like Cyrax for some reason. He was a favorite of mine. Now, in regards to my least favorite, okay. Let me get ready for this.
Alright.
Liu Kang.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but when I was young, I could just deal with him. But I was never into the Bruce Lee ripoff gimmick until like later on in the movies came out, and or at least that first movie, and like a sort of lineage sort of happened, and there was more media to back up that character.
Yeah.
Like initially, I was like, okay, great, he's just another monk who's destined to win the world. All right, thanks. So it was like they were just handing you his story on a silver platter in my mind. Even as a little kid, I was like, I'm gonna go with the weird-looking blue ninja guy. And ultimately, it seemed like most of the Mortal Kombat fan base was either like Sub-Zero or Scorpion, and I didn't fucking know that. I mean, I was always in the arcades playing these things. I was born in '91, so I'm essentially, since Mortal Kombat was a thing, I've been obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Since I've been a thing, I've been obsessed with it. And it's just always, I never noticed that until, I guess, recently. But another one I don't like, oh, fuck, Kai.
Oh my god.
Useless. Completely useless. Let me think. I almost said meat, but I've kind of grown to, no, mocap. Fuck mocap. That was just a bad joke from Midway. Nobody needed that. God, there have been some terrible ones. I mean, I'm also not the biggest Baraka fan.
Oh, really? That's surprising.
Yeah, I know. And you know what really sold me on him, though? I don't know if you've seen it, but there was this short film that Kevin Contrian did that was like Mortal Kombat Rebirth, I think is what it was called. It was a pitch that was designed to be shown to, I think, Warner Brothers, to let him do a real-world-based Mortal Kombat movie. And what instead they let him do was the Machinima series. And the movie ended up being sort of passed off as it has been, and now I believe James Wan is attached to produce the new Mortal Kombat film, and this guy has nothing to do with it. But this dude did a short film called Mortal Kombat Rebirth that I encourage everybody to go check out, because it's very, very unique in its approach. But Baraka, in that, has a much more real-world sort of to him. They play him as a surgeon, a plastic surgeon who sort of went fucking bonkers and just was obsessed with self-mutilation. And he has this insane fight scene with Johnny Cage, and I won't spoil it, but the character comes across like a straight up badass. And every time before then, I always felt like he was just around the major good guys' punching bag. He never had any real justified storyline. He never really got his, so to speak. He was always just like the punk, just getting put down. It's like, how do I take this motherfucker seriously? Over the years, though, I must say, Raiden has become increasingly frustrating in the storyline, just because of all of the mistakes he's made.
Oh, yeah.
He's the reason we all went back in time, quote unquote, aka Warner Brothers buying Midway, and we needed a story to usher it, so let's blame Raiden. But Raiden has become quite the frustrating motherfucker, but I really do hope Dark Raiden is the bad guy in this next Mortal Kombat, so it kind of would explain why he's been a fuckhead for so long, and it would give some sort of ending to him being such a fuckwad. They're like, oh, okay, now he's the big bad.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what I'm hoping, but who knows? Because they were supposed to... the story for the sequel to MK9 was supposed to be way different from what we got. And they introduced that whole, all right, we're going to jump around 15 years, 25 years, we're going to go back 10 years, we're going to go forward 5 years. And it was just so all over the place. I loved it, though. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, it was just like, whoa, where are we going? Where's the story? Everything's different. No one knows what's happening anymore.
Yeah, that one was...
I guess...
Sorry.
Oh, no, go on.
I was going to say that, that one was pretty confusing to keep up with, story-wise.
Without a doubt. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I've played through the shit 3 times, and I still have to go on YouTube and watch the quote-unquote video game movie, where people put together the cutscenes and, the whole sequence of it, so you're stuck there waiting for, 8 hours to play out this entire... It's kind of great, actually, when you can find a well-put-together, quote-unquote video game movie, like the Batman Arkham series.
Oh, yeah.
There's some good ones of that. Somebody did a dope Grand Theft Auto one. And they're long mini-series on YouTube where you don't have to play the fucking game. You choose not to. But even after the amount of times I've played through that fucking one, I've still had to go back and be like, wait a second, what happened when, why did he, who, what the fuck's going on? Because now slowly news is leaking out about the new one.
Oh, yeah.
All that's leaked out so far were a couple... have you seen any of the renders that leaked out about, the possible characters?
No, I actually haven't.
Well, it's kind of all over the place. It lends itself towards Raiden being the big bad, and multiple dead characters coming back, but then that contradicts what Ed Boon has said, where the motherfuckers that are dead are going to stay dead, but in Mortal Kombat, no one stays dead. So how does... It's very, very confusing. The amount of information that's come out has been very, very little, but it's interesting because it feeds into the idea of Dark Raiden, and who knows where that could go, because I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they try and emulate Armageddon or Deception.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's kind of weird that they just sort of skipped over 4 in this retelling, because Mortal Kombat 9 was supposed to retell 1 and 2. Well, sort of.
And I think it kind of touched on 3.
A little bit, yeah. It started to fuck with 3, and then the next one was supposed to be 4 and 5, but it just sort of went in this completely weird tangent reality where I guess we're all stuck now. So, thanks to Warner Brothers saving Midway, I mean, to be fair, if they didn't do that, we may not have gotten Mortal Kombat 9 or 10 or X, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, because Midway was on the outs. They were donezo. They were filing for bankruptcy, and all their intellectual properties were pretty much up for grabs, and to be fair, if Warner Brothers didn't grab MK, God forbid some shit like Threshold Entertainment maintained their legal strangle over Mortal Kombat, because Threshold Entertainment is who made all those terrible Mortal Kombat TV shows. Even though I love them, they're terrible. Let's be real here. And they're a martial arts film studio, and it wasn't until Midway bought that shit out that now we have the opportunity to get new Mortal Kombat movies, new Mortal Kombat TV series. They can do whatever the fuck they want now that NetherRealm Studios is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I am very much so about MK, obviously. But in regards to characters, yeah, man, I kind of got off on a tangent there. But those.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Those would have to be the. I'm also trying to think, like, I'm not a fan of the disposable characters. The ones that come in, like the forced interjections that were when they really, really beefed up. You know, in Armageddon when it was like 60-something motherfuckers or whatever.
Yeah, it was like
in the game, and it was just like, who are half of you motherfuckers? None of you have storylines. You're all just interwoven into, like, what, the Black Dragon, or you're interwoven into the Lin Kuei, and I get it, clans, I get it.
Yeah. But
if you're not gonna, like, plant seeds for storyline, or really make any attempt to establish a storyline for certain characters, why are they there?
Yeah, and there was that one dude they introduced in Deception. His name was Cobra, but he was originally going to be called Ken, and he was basically just a fucking Ken clone from Street Fighter.
Oh my god, that's right. I remember that son of a bitch. Oh, fuck that character too. He goes on my list. Him too. Fucking A. What was the name of the guy who was essentially a carbon copy of Cabal? He was a red dragon or a black dragon.
Motaro? Or it started with like an M. Didn't he have like stretchy arms or some shit like that?
He had like an identical long black trench coat with sleeveless, because sleeveless is cool, and he had the exact same hook swords as Cabal, but he looked kind of like Brandon Lee, and he was like the attractive Cabal, like everything Cabal wishes he could be and never could be. It was so fucking weird, and I can't remember the name of the character because he was there and then he was gone.
Yeah.
They just fucking got rid of him. Who the fuck else was terrible?
I'm actually gonna try to find him.
Yeah, because he's evading my mind. Thankfully, so I guess I successfully put him out of my fucking head. Who the hell else? You know, I wanted to like Chameleon. I wanted to, and it felt so fucking stupid and forced. I was like, why does Chameleon with a C have to be the female? Like, there was a Chameleon with a C, the male, who could just become any of the ninjas, and then Chameleon with a K, who was the lady, who could just become any of the ladies. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious?
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Oh, man. Yeah, man. MK has unfortunately had a couple blunders.
Yeah, like, when they came out with Suhao was so fucking terrible that Ed Boon had him killed off in the Mortal Kombat X comics. Like, shit.
Oh, that's right. Fuck that dude. I remember that character. Yeah, man. I'm kind of glad Boon did that, in all fairness. I was like, and that sort of introduced the possibility also where, okay, if we're going to start fucking with these characters and start acknowledging that they exist in these linear timelines, then that opens the realm, fun choice of words, towards whatever other characters they want to introduce, which is pretty interesting, even if it is just through the comics or like web series or whatever. It's cool to know that all those miscellaneous shitty characters may have like Frost popped up out of nowhere in those comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Like a serious fucking arc, which was pretty dope. I loved Frost. I don't know why, even though she was like, well, I know why, because she was an attractive female Sub-Zero. I know why. Yeah. And she looks like every one of my exes. So, yeah, so that worked.
By the way, that dude's name was Movado.
That motherfucker. Oh, yeah. Fuck him. His attractive wannabe Cabal ass. He was there and gone, and nobody dug him. I could not. I don't think in the whole time of me playing that particular game of which he was a part of did I ever see anybody select him. Ever.
I know I never did.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking back to it because I'm like, usually I try and play through the story, the ladder of everybody just to figure out what everyone's story ending is, because then it's fun. Before we had story mode, quote unquote, the only way we could establish the canon of these characters was to just figure out when the next game happened, and whatever that motherfucker's ending was, that was what continued or didn't continue based off the last game.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, because it's like all of a sudden out of nowhere, what was it, Mortal Kombat 3, when there were suddenly 2 Sub-Zeros, trilogy, I believe.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't until then where people were like, oh, the first one died, and then he's that guy. Oh wait, who is he? No one knows who he is? Okay, but we have 2 Sub-Zeros now. Okay, but that one's dead, but he's still there. Okay, cool. And there's Noob Saibot also, but he's also Sub-Zero, but nobody knew that then, I guess.
Yeah.
That whole Sub-Zero Noob Saibot thing, I guess, didn't happen until I don't know when that happened. That was, I think Shaolin Monks is what really dove deep into that one.
Oh yeah.
Where, like, Noob Saibot was a bad guy, and then Sub-Zero appears. He gets his scar from Gung Lao's big old fuck you razor hat. And then he kicks the shit out of Noob Saibot and is like, that's my brother, dumbasses. I gotta restore him. But then you never hear anything about it. They just never bring it up again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, gotta love it. Thanks, Midway. Thanks for the memories.
That was a very interesting conversation we just had about Mortal Kombat, but unfortunately I feel like there's people listening like, what the fuck are they talking about right now?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. There are Street Fighter fans out there, there are Game of Thrones fans out there are Walking Dead fans out there that are like, you motherfuckers. What? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's niche entertainment, people.
I'd be more than happy to, talk to you more about it, after we're done. I'd be completely cool with that, man.
Hell, man, I'm always down. Yeah, man.
Yeah. My next question for you, how long have you been a wrestler?
I started training right after I realized that lung cancer thing wasn't as bad as it was. I dealt with all of that, and around 2014, I reached out to a friend of mine who was a part of the WWE's Performance Center, and I just wanted to kind of know some details about what I would have to do to maybe find a trainer, or if there were schools locally. I didn't know that there were wrestling schools just fucking everywhere.
Oh, really?
And because WWE's headquarters is essentially Orlando and Stamford, Connecticut, so I'm kind of fortunate enough to be stuck in Florida. I never thought I'd say that in my fucking life. Until the wrestling thing started. So I started training around 2014, roughly. I started getting real aggressive with it from 2015 to 2016. That's where I learned the bulk of my basics. That's where I really realized fortunately, I had multiple trainers over the course of all these years because I wanted to accumulate a lot in as little amount of time as possible, and then I ultimately realized that was foolish. So even now, to this day, I still, will go to classes and all that fun stuff, and I'm still consistently seeking out trainers while I am working, because you can never know everything, and the second that you think you know everything in this business, you should probably get out, because you don't. Or you're delusional and you'll probably end up hurting somebody.
Yeah.
But I started around 2014, and I didn't have my first public match until 2016 around WrestleCon, when WrestleMania was in Orlando. I think that was 2016. Damn, my memory's terrible. Was that 16 or 17? Somebody help me. I don't know. Somebody out there knows. But anyway, it was around then when I had my first matches. I started working with Atomic Wrestling Entertainment in Cocoa, Florida. They were very, very... Alex Red. I need to give this man a shout-out because he, in all fairness, gave me an opportunity to go and perform as H7 with no restraints, how I wanted when I, in all honesty, was in no position to have that sort of luxury. Being as new as I am, he really helped me out, gave me a spot. I showed up, got to work a couple of thingies, a couple situations, and I'm itching to go back. But ever since then, I've been working odds and ends, various miscellaneous promotions, anybody that wants to scoop up a masked undead guy. And yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of that. But I would have to say I'm still training to this day. I'm still, learning, and I would have to hope that I'm going to maintain that throughout however long I'm doing this, because I've really sort of fallen in love with the prospect of, after seeing that a band falls apart on tour very easily, and that you have to deal with multiple egos, and it's a lot of money being divvied up when there isn't much anyway. In wrestling, in independent wrestling anyway, it's very much so the same idea, but it's an army of one. Like, I can literally travel around as age 7, sit at a merch booth all night as I would in a music setting, and go work a match, and it's the same fucking thing. Like, it's literally no different, except I don't have to worry about 6 other dudes. I don't have to sweat a manager. I am my own manager. I don't have to really, like, most of the headaches that are there for theatrical performance, like music and whatnot, they kind of go right out the window with wrestling, because there's no one else I got to worry about. And I'll be honest with you, man, I've really fallen in love with that. So I've kind of set in my mind the things that are sure about my career, that from this point onward, it's gonna have to be 100% professional wrestling and 100% Kuza in regards to music and in regards to wrestling. And I can juggle the two, fortunately, thank the fucking Lord, because I'm a seasoned serial entrepreneur and I guess licensed juggler. So it's a fun mixed bag of what I'm going to be doing, but it seems to me that because of the way that this business works, that wrestling may be what's perfect for me. As long as I can avoid fucking my shoulder up again, or as long as I can avoid hurting my knee, because I got straight up put out of work for about 6 months because I fucked my shoulder up.
Damn.
A little while ago. And I'm only recently fine now, but now I want to get in the gym, and now I want to fucking, like, I already look like a human wrecking ball, but I just want to go completely overboard with it and go full-on Tim Lambesis, besides trying to kill my wife, or whatever he did.
Oh my God.
But I know he went overboard with them roids, and I'm not about that, but that's pretty much, yeah, that's the bulk of that.
Cool, man. As a musician, what are your biggest influences?
Well, my earliest memories are like being way too young in these bars in New Orleans listening to a sludge metal band called I Hate God. A lot of people don't know who they are, unfortunately, but when you listen to them, it's hot or cold. You either love it or hate it. That, paired with the fact that I'm essentially a child of Ozfest. Every Ozfest that really ever came through New Orleans or Florida, I was at. Because when my parents separated, one lived in Louisiana, the other in Florida, and I had the luxury, I guess, if you can call it that, of going back and forth, and that led to the ability to see pretty much multiple Ozfests in a tour, multiple shows of a band's tour, should I choose to. So I did, and it was a lot of Ozfest bands. I'm a huge product of groups like American Head Charge, the original version of Moto Grader. I would be remiss if I didn't say Slipknot and Mushroom Head, but musically I don't really draw from them that much, but their influences are there. I would have to say Tim Skold.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, former songwriter of Marilyn Manson and KMFDM.
Oh, yeah.
And a bunch of other shit. Riggs, former guitar player of Rob Zombie, He has a group called Scum of the Earth. But I've essentially I try to describe my sound as so, where the guitars are pretty much Riggs from Rob Zombie, Kelly Hayes of Cold, and Trip Eason, mixed with the bass of what I would hope to one day be Justin Chancellor level, because I am a Tool freak. I love Tool. I love A Perfect Circle. If anybody hasn't heard the new A Perfect Circle record, everyone's shitting on it. Everybody thinks it's way too calm, but just listen to it very, very loudly, and you will love it. I assure you. The drums are always hyper intense to the level of bands like Devil Driver, who Underlined was fortunate enough to open up for once. That was a blast. The electronics I always try to akin to groups like Cyclone 9, Crossbreed, Nine Inch Nails, American Head Charge. Even my songwriting I try to akin to groups like American Head Charge. And vocally, I've kind of just been all over the place. When I first started, and all I was doing was high-pitched screaming, I was literally just trying to be a Nero Bellum of Cyclone 9 carbon copy. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't even know how to scream properly. And it wasn't until somebody came to me and was like, hey, you gotta project from your diaphragm and not your throat, that I immediately realized, oh shit, I can go high, I can go low, I can go mid, I can do all these things. And by the time And Then happened, that EP, I figured out, oh, if I sit here and lock myself in the studio for years on end and sing these same songs with other vocalists in the same register as me, like Michael Graves is one of them, essentially me repeating Michael Graves songs and covering them on my own is what got me to learn how to sing, in essence, and sing properly in key. I essentially self-taught myself. That's a strange sentence. Based off people like Michael Graves, Ivan Moody, Cameron Haycock, Tim Skold, universally. There are a few. Wes Borland is another one, because of Blacklight Burns is a huge influence on me. Him in general. Seeing him in like the heyday of when Limp Bizkit first got popular, and it was like all these like rap rock dudes, and then this guy in black contacts looking like he just walked straight out of a deathcore video or death metal band. like he looked straight up black metal for a period there, and that just immediately, I don't know what it was about that, it just attracted me. And go figure, his solo music, if anybody hasn't heard it, it's crazy, it's great. It doesn't sound anything like Limp Bizkit. It's amazing. But yeah, I would have to say those are the bulk of my influences. Most of the people I've looked up to, I would have to say, would be them. That's, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
It's fucking cool, man. Will Underlined or Kuza be playing any shows in the near future?
The plan for Kuza is to my knowledge anyway, to finish this EP and then push it aggressively, and that involves live shows, that involves a tour circuit, that involves us hopping on to hopefully a package tour, so we don't have to worry about booking and all that nonsense. We can just hop on to something and then go. And do that for a cycle or two. I know that's the plan for Kuza. With Underlined, what I need is a full-fledged live band. And I'm always looking for people, but the thing is, it's never fucking worked out in regards to a live band. I've had over 30 different live band members in the course of this group's existence, and it seems like there's something, I know this sounds kind of shitty, but there's something in the water in Florida, specifically South Florida, that makes people completely fucking crazy. And everybody I've met here is either some drug-addicted psychotic or a complete and utter sociopath, or the difference between they're not a musician by lifestyle, they are a kid with an instrument, be a hobby. And that's the bulk of the South Florida scene, unfortunately. And I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but South Florida scene is non-existent because there is no professionalism, there is no entrepreneurial spirit, there is no artistic really expression anywhere in regards to aggressive music around here, which is fucking strange considering the fact that it's hot, it's humid, everyone's pissed, everyone's on dope, so why aren't we all making great music? Somehow the cars just don't line up around here.
Yeah.
So it's been impossible for me to really find a live lineup of any consistent nature, because it's like once we get one guy drops out because he has a habit, or another guy drops out because he realizes, oh, being in a band doesn't make you any fucking money. Like,
yeah.
It's like all these people get into it for the wrong reason, and it doesn't matter how many times you sit them down in the very beginning and try to have that come to Jesus meeting with them, where you explain to them, hey, you're not going to make shit. I've been doing this for 10 years and I don't make shit. Like, I pay my bills and I'm lucky. I haven't eaten in days because all my money goes back into this shit. That's just how I do this. That's how it works. That's the only way that you're ever going to make something of yourself is to go 120% into it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of 99.9% of the people who have been in this group as a full-fledged live member have fallen out due to, like, laziness or some other strange habitual reason. So I would love to play shows, but and to be fair, the millisecond that all the cards are in the deck properly and everything's in line, oh my god, you betcha, it'll happen. It's happened before. We're just out of nowhere, there's a live lineup, and we're like, fuck it, let's play. Like, it happens a lot, but also to do that, it requires a great deal of money because every guy has to have a personalized look. Even if I'm just putting pre-existing masks on a guy, that still costs money to make all that shit.
Yeah.
So it involves some planning. So I can't say as of right now, because knowingly, the fan base does know that it takes a bit of planning, so I like to hide my cards. I can be very honest and say that in regards to Underlined, live shows do not seem to be on the table, but a plethora of visual-based media is, because I believe on a tour, I can only hit X amount of cities.
Yeah.
I believe on a tour, I may not be able to even control where I'm going. But live, online, or via YouTube, or via whatever, if I'm consistently releasing material in a frequency, or at a frequency, which most groups in my position do not, or most artists in my position do not, I feel like that may be better than me trying to pour all of my fucking efforts, money, and sanity into, like, playing 12 shows. Like, if I'm going to do that, I may as well pour that same amount of effort, energy, money, and sanity into, like, as many songs and videos and, you know, masks, designs, artwork, all of it. Merch. Like, I'm just consistently trying to take pages out of the Gene Simmons playbook of marketing. Like, straight up, like, fucking, I'm trying to figure out how to do H7 action figures. I'm trying to figure out how to do candles. I have incense. We're doing hot sauce. I'm trying to do everything and anything. Because it seems to me like that's the only way to get anywhere these days.
Yeah.
And through doing serial entrepreneurship, I don't think that was a proper sentence. Through doing that, I believe that it's going to lead people back to this 10-year discography that is Underlined. And to be fucking completely honest, wrestling has done more for my music than any other band I've ever been in has done for my music.
Yeah.
Because people see the image and they immediately realize, oh, fuck, he's had a band for 10 years looking like that, sounding like that, and now he's in a ring hurting people? How the fuck did this happen? What's this? Is it connected? And then they get to go down this crazy-ass rabbit hole that sonically, I don't think any wrestler has. Chris Jericho does, because he has a band, Bobby. But I don't think any other wrestler has that. John Cena has a rap record. but that was a gimmick. LOL. But yeah, it's just all lending itself towards that. And in regards to touring, wrestling, I can literally just pack my shit up and go anywhere. So fans are much more likely to encounter me at a wrestling event than they are perhaps in a live setting musically. In regards to Underlined, but the frequency, I hope, in regards to wrestling that I'm booked and traveling and out and about, I hope that intensifies because, as I said, it just ends up helping the music in the long run. So, yeah.
Yeah. Rappy Garber in the chat room wants to know if you would be interested in a Maori mask from his people.
In a what?
I think I'm saying that wrong. It's like a Maori, like the Hawaiian natives, I think it is. Maori?
Huh. I mean, if he's offering me visuals, hey man, hit me up on the social medias, Underlined Inc., or just look up H7. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. I am on the Instagram. I am everywhere you don't want to be. Anyway, you can find me there. Hit me up, and we'll, because I'm interested in figuring out what you're trying to ask me. If you're trying to offer something, we can talk about that. If you're trying to buy something, we can talk about that too? Question mark?
Okay, it's New Zealand. It's pronounced Maori, and I think he's offering you a mask.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah, man, hit me up. I'm always interested in seeing new images, new visuals, because you never know, something might strike me.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
It is.
I'm very bad at figuring out where these fucking, like, I see things like that, and I'm thinking, okay, that's gotta be some sort of island thing, and I said it was fucking Hawaii.
Yeah, I have no clue. But yeah, man, if homie hits me up, hell yeah, figure it out.
Fuck yeah, dude. What are the best ways for people to support you and your bands?
Oh man, straight up, mask sales. This sounds ridiculous, but there are actually two ways. Via my Bandcamp, underlinedinc.bandcamp.com. It's in fact the link that you can find pretty much everywhere on any of my social media. You're going to end up being linked to one of two places with my social media. It's either underlinedinc.bigcartel.com, and that's our merch store, or underlinedinc.bandcamp.com, and that is where you can purchase the entire discography at a exuberantly discounted rate. But beyond that, mask sales are dominantly how I do everything. That's how I fund everything. I dominantly work with wrestlers, stage performers, fans of horror in general, arts collectors. If you have an idea, if you have a concept, a character, or anything of that nature, which you wish to see brought to life, that is essentially what I do. And my prices compare, because there are people who will charge you $300, $400, $500 for a commission project. Me, face masks, $150 flat, roughly. Full-headed stuff, normally never over $200. If you want, like, handmade dreads, usually $250. You know what? I've never charged anybody over $300 for even the most complex, lit-up, crazy, over-the-top, fuck-you-looking thing. Because I've been in that position where I need crazy visuals and no one can supply them to me at my fucking price range. So, and I know how much this shit costs to make, and I know how much people price gouge in special effects, unfortunately, and it's a fucking lot. Believe me, oh my fucking god. The amount of money people charge for, like, some latex and well-done airbrushed paint job, Jesus fucking Christ. But anyway, that is the best way. To hit me up via social media, Facebook, Facebook.com/H7Inc., or if you just look up H7, it's the first one that pops up. Underlined, it's always me running that shit. So if you're looking up Underlined Inc., I-N-C, you'll be able to reach out to me. Even through the merch store, even through the Bandcamp, there are ways to reach out to me. And yeah, through that way, we can sort of figure out whatever it is that you're trying to get made, and then we can make it happen. But that, I would have to say, is the best way, just because that has become pretty much my day job, in essence. Special effects, working on masks and whatnot, prosthetics for bands or wrestlers. It's funny, man, I get way more work from like bands and wrestlers than I ever expected I would, but that ends up being the main way to support, I've found, because if you look at any of my social media, all maps, all shit I'm trying to sell, like it, and that is essentially what keeps the machine going, because every dollar that we make goes right back into this, but it costs so fucking much to do this that I gotta frequently move product, and I mean it's a good motivation to keep shit going, you know, that fire lit under your ass. But it's also like, not only am I doing this for the sake of my profession, I do this also because this is how I avoid homelessness. This is how I avoid poverty. So fortunately, I've managed to turn my work in with Underlined and this whole mask thing and my obsession with visual-based imagery, like hyper-visual imagery. I've been able to turn that into a way to make a rather handsome living should the frequency of work be there. So yeah, I would have to say that, the merch store, and the Bandcamp, which I'll repeat those links one more time. Underlined Inc., I-N-C, at, whoa, I fucked that up. Hold on, take two. Edit. Cut that. Sorry, I was about to turn into Chip Chipperson. Do you know who Chip Chipperson is?
No, I don't.
Okay, you should look into that, because it'll ruin your life. Anyway, I have to advocate if you want to purchase the music, the best way to do it is underlinedinc.bandcamp.com, and the best way to get shirts, merch in general, is underlinedinc.bigcartel.com. Those are our two essential hubs on the interwebs, besides social media. Yeah, so those would be where I would guide everyone.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Cool.
That's about all the questions I got for you, man.
Dope.
But before you go, could I get you to make a tag for my show?
Yeah, certainly.
Alright, whenever you're ready, you can say, this is H7 from Underlined and Kuza, and add whatever the fuck you want in there, and then just say, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio. Like I said, you got free reign with this fucking tag.
Okay, here we go. Alright, shit. Alright, damn, I was gonna try and be funny, but I'm just gonna give you a straight one. Alright. What's up? This is H7 from Underlined and Kuza, and you are listening to MetalDevastationRadio.com. Fucker!
Fuck yeah, dude.
There you go. Hell yeah.
Sup? Fucking great interview, man.
Right, man. Yeah, it was a blast. Hell yeah, man. I look forward to hopefully doing another sometime down the road.
Yeah, and if you want, there might be some people in the chat room that might still have some questions for you if you want to come in here and hang out.
Oh yeah, man. I'm literally right about to head back into the studio, so I'll hop in there.
All right, cool.
Cool, man. Well, thanks again.
No problem, man.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too.